Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of SacTown Movie Buffs. Once again, I'm Kier, and this is Jason, and we are back with the second half of our top 10 films of 2007. So this is part two. So if you missed the first part, we did our number 10 through number 6. This will be our number 5 through number 1 with some honorable mentions, and then you'll want to stick around to the very end because we'll also do our challenge films for each other for 2008. So you'll definitely want to stick around for that. Well, as always, we got a lot of films to cover, so I say we just kind of get right into it right away. I'm actually going to start off this time, and there's a reason for that. And the reason for that is because I actually made an error on my top 10, first half of my top 10 list. There's a film that probably should have been, I don't know, around number 6, and I had forgotten that it actually came out that year. So, so I'm actually going to just real quick, my number 6 film of 2007 was actually going to be No Country for Old Men. So I had totally just forgotten about that film. And when I was going through my list, I realized that actually should have been included in there. So, and I didn't want to just throw it in my honorable mention. So that was actually my number 6. And then it just bumped down. I think Eastern Promises was number 10. So that would have got bumped down to number 11, basically. So,
yeah.
So. Cool.
All right. Okay.
All right.
So now that we're done with, your cheating there.
Now we can move on to your number 5.
Okay. All right. Are we done cheating?
Yes, we're done cheating.
Okay. All right. I'm just kidding. All right. So my number 5, most of the ones they're pretty well known. This one's not so well known. This is a movie called, my number 5 is a movie called Mr. Lonely. So I really like this movie. Yeah, I figured you hadn't heard of it. It's a Harmony Korine film. I know you know him. Like he wrote Kids. Then he's directed several movies like Gummo, Spring Breakers. This is one of his best movies, I think. It's definitely more. It's not quite. He trades in. I'm a fan of his, but he usually goes for like stuff that's like really shocking and out there. This one is a little bit more moving, I guess you could say, although it's still pretty out there. The storyline is about an island where a whole bunch of the only people that live on this island are celebrity impersonators. So it's kind of a weird concept, but as you can see here, what's his name? Oh yeah, Diego Luna as Michael Jackson and Samantha Morton as Marilyn Monroe. So it's just this island where all these people just live as celebrities all day long. So it's kind of an interesting, it's a little surreal, a little weird, but it's also a really interesting commentary on celebrity obsession. But yeah, it's a really, really interesting movie that I really like a lot. And I recommend if you haven't heard of it and if you're a fan of that director. So cool. That's my number 5.
Yeah, I've never heard of it, but sounds interesting for sure. Maybe I'll check that out if I get some time. Which these days I don't have a whole lot of time because we're watching so many movies. But
I know.
Yeah, if I get a chance, then I'll definitely get around to it for sure. Cool. Good choice. My number 5 is actually going to be the Rob Zombie's version of Halloween.
All right.
So that is my number 5. The only Rob Zombie film that I like, the only good film that he's ever made, in my opinion.
No, wrong.
But
that's not even one of his best. But anyway, go ahead.
That is the best. That's the best film that he's made. All the rest are garbage, man. They're horrible.
No, they're not.
They're terrible, terrible films. But this one is good. This is the exception to the rule. But what I like about this one is it's really the only one that actually shows Michael Myers as a child, and he actually talks for a brief period of it. So I thought it was a very interesting take on the Michael Myers saga. And Michael Myers is of the big 3: the Freddy, Jason, and Michael Myers. Halloween, I guess. Michael Myers has always been kind of one of my favorite ones, just the one that I kind of grew up with as far as the slasher films go. But I thought this was an interesting take that you actually got to see Michael Myers as a kid, and you got to kind of see the wheels that made him start turning into, the serial killer that he becomes. So I thought it was a really interesting, refreshing take. It is a very violent film. It's got some very very bad language as well, so it's not for everybody. Some people are turned off by that, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was very creepy, very scary. But that's my number 5, Halloween.
Cool. Yeah, I love that movie. I'm a big Rob Zombie fan. I've really liked almost everything he's done, and I really, that's a very controversial movie, though. Actually, mostly among like horror fans, like really hardcore John Carpenter fans don't like it because it's so different. You know what I mean? That they like, and I like them both. I like it's like they're both totally different approaches, but they're both really good movies. Like I like John Carpenter's Halloween is one of the greatest ever made, obviously, and I really like his kind of like almost supernatural approach. Like Michael Myers is like not even a person, really. He's kind of like a spirit, almost.
The shape.
Yeah. He's not like a person, but this approaches the same character, but as like a actual person. Yeah, like a flesh and blood psycho. You know what I mean?
More humanized version of Michael Myers, if you will. So
yeah. And I really enjoy both. I really enjoy both. I like it a lot. I know a lot of people don't like it. It was the biggest hit Rob Zombie ever had, though, actually. But ironically, it's the horror fans that don't like it. But I'm a horror fan that does like it, so good choice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Moving on to number 4, sir.
Number 4 for me is Grindhouse. So I don't do any of the splitting up of Planet Terror and Death Proof. To me, there's only one way to experience this movie, and that's the full-on 3+ hour double feature with the trailer, the machete trailer at the beginning and the trailers in the middle. To me, it's just a really great experience. And I'm one of the few people, apparently, that actually saw it in the theater because it came out and people didn't really understand what it was.
Hey, I was there too, okay?
No, I know. But like what I'm saying is, like, do you remember, like, people started walking out after Planet Terror because they thought that was the whole thing.
Yeah, people didn't realize that it was this Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez, they got together and they wanted to make like the old Grindhouse films where you watch like a double feature and stuff like that, and you have like an intermission and you come back, and people didn't understand that. So like you said, people saw the first film and just completely took off. So
they thought that was it, and like I don't know. Yeah. But people like
casuals,
like,
man.
I remember double features.
Casuals. Yeah, I know. Those are casual.
Yeah,
fans.
I know. Yeah, but I remember double features, and they weren't always like, I remember when I was a kid, there would be double features at the theater, just like usually it was 2 movies that had been out for a while, or it's like a new movie, and you could stick around for the older movie if you wanted to as kind of a double feature, but it's just not a thing anymore, and it hasn't been for a long time. So the younger people especially didn't even know what the concept was, so they they left after the first movie because the credits are rolling, because it looks like the end of a movie. But anyway, I love this movie. I've watched it. I think I've watched it twice since, like the complete thing. I've watched Planet Terror by itself and Death Proof by itself because for a while that's the only way it was available. Remember, like they were released individually at first, and then later, finally, like the Blu-ray came out with the whole thing together. And I've watched the whole thing again twice, and to me, it just gets better every time you watch it. So yeah, I love it. That's my number 4.
Yeah, great choice. Cool. My number 4 is one we already covered on the previous show, which is going to be King of Kong, Fistful of Quarters.
I've never seen that cover before.
We'll see it. Look at it.
I see it.
No, it's. So yeah, we touched on this before. So it's a documentary, like we said, that deals with basically video gamers, and we already alluded to, there's tons of these right now that are all over the place. There's just one on Netflix that I saw, or I didn't watch it, but I saw that was on Netflix about video games and that sort of stuff. But this was kind of High Score. Yeah, that was it. This one was kind of unique for the time, though. I hadn't seen too many documentaries about video games, back in 2007. So, but I really enjoyed this one. I thought it's a great documentary. Like I said, we talked about like the kind of the good nice guy and the big high score villain guy and that sort of stuff. And so it's got a lot of interesting takes to it. And then all the the nerds, if you will, that are all surrounded and kind of picking sides and that sort of stuff. But no, I definitely enjoyed it. I thought it was fun, it was funny. It has a great story and has a really good ending as well. So if you've never seen The King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters, I definitely urge you to check that one out. And that is my number 4.
Cool. Yeah, it's great. Like you alluded to, it was in the bottom half of my top 10, but I love it. It's such a fun movie.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome.
All right, number 3.
All right. Number 3 for me, we've already talked about actually, and that is the one that you cheated with, which is No Country for Old Men. So yeah, that's my number 3. It's really just a perfect thriller. It's one of my favorite Coen Brothers fans, and I'm a huge Coen Brothers fan. I mean, it's one of my favorite Coen Brothers films, and I'm a huge Coen Brothers fan. Yeah, Javier Bardem is like terrifying in this movie. Yeah. He's as scary as Michael Myers is in Halloween, frankly. And he's just as mysterious because you never really find out much about him except that you don't want to cross paths with him.
No, absolutely.
But yeah, great movie. Another one that seems to get better the more times you watch it.
Yeah, I agree.
know, the first time I think both of us were a lot of people I think are kind of underwhelmed by the ending,
right?
Because it's not really what you expect. But to me, the ending now is like one of the best things about it because it's great. I don't want to spoil it, but it's a great ending. Really, it's just not like the usual ending you would expect a movie like that to have. So.
Yeah. It definitely throws you for a loop. The first time you watch it, it's definitely better. It's one of those films that is better probably on repeat viewings when you kind of know what to expect, I guess, if you will. But yeah, I definitely enjoy that. And like I said, Javier Bardem is one of the most terrifying villains. He's probably my top 5 all-time favorite villains. You know what I mean? Like the movie's not, my all-time top 5 films, but his performance is one of my top 5 all-time villains. You know what I mean? He's just so creepy and terrifying. And like you said, he's very mysterious. You don't find out a whole lot about him. I love there's a scene with Woody Harrelson where they're asking him about him and like I guess like kind of how bad of a guy he is, and he was like, compared to what, the bubonic plague? Like, you know what I mean? Like he's a bad dude. You know what I mean? Like So, but no, great choice. So
yeah, awesome,
cool. My number 3 is going to be a Western, which is 3:10 to Yuma. So yeah, I definitely enjoy this one. Russell Crowe, Christian Bale. It's a remake. I've never seen the original, I don't think, actually. So I don't know how it holds up to the original, but obviously since I saw this one first, I probably would like this one first, just based on general principle of seeing it first. But or at the very least, it would take a lot for the original to overshadow this one, I guess, if you will. But I like it. It's a fun, good action, good Western, fun story. Like I said, I'm always a big fan of Westerns anyway. So, I love the shoot 'em ups and that sort of stuff. It's always been something that I kind of gravitated towards. But yeah, just really good story. Essentially, Christian Bale's an outlaw, and I'm not Christian Bale, but Russell Crowe's an outlaw, and Christian Bale's kind of tasked with helping to bring him basically to justice. They're trying to they capture him. They're basically trying to get him on the 310 train to Yuma, which is like a prison camp or whatever. And his Russell Crowe's gang is also trying to, take him back, basically get him back. And so they're being attacked by them, and they run into some trouble with, Native Americans, indigenous people as well. And so it's got a lot of good story, a lot of good action. Definitely one I urge you to check out. 3:10 to Yuma.
Yeah, I love that movie, and I'm not like I like a lot of westerns, but it's not my genre really. But I really like that movie a lot. I just watched it a few years ago, and it still holds up really well. And it's one of those movies that's got a really great shootout at the end, and that's obviously important.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. So yeah, awesome. That should be in my runner-ups, but I think I forgot to bring it in here with me. So it would be though.
Shame.
For sure.
Shame.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Number 2.
Okay. So my top 2, I don't think you're a very big fan of, but you should be because they're good. My number 2 is There Will Be Blood. So this is a movie that I didn't care for the first time I watched it. I saw it in the theater, being a big Paul Thomas Anderson fan. Again, Boogie Nights, Magnolia, Heart 8. These are like some of my favorite movies ever. And I went to see this one with great anticipation, and I was let down the first time. So for a few years, I thought I didn't really like this movie, but then I watched it again, and everything clicked. Everything clicked. And ever since I've watched it, I like it more and more and more. So it's a really powerful movie. It's got some amazing acting in it. Daniel Day-Lewis. I can't remember if he actually won the Oscar. I think he did. But he's fantastic in this movie. And Paul Dano also as basically he is a oil baron, and the movie is about the kind of battle of wills between him and this fanatical preacher played by Paul Dano, and how they are like they're enemies, but they're also kind of the same person in some ways. So it's really interesting the way it traces that relationship over the years, and it's also just really hardcore, great filmmaking, the cinematography, the music. It's a really disturbing movie. It's almost a horror movie, but not quite. Kind of like my number one, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. So yeah, that's my number two. There Will Be Blood.
All right. Yeah, not a fan. And like we've already had this conversation with previous years, I've never been that big of a fan of the director per se. I never loved any of his films. Just, I don't know, they just don't resonate with me. So, and that's another one that I'm not a fan of. In fact, that one's probably lower on the end of his films of the ones that I have seen. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, just not a fan of his style.
Watch it again, man. You need to watch it again.
No, I don't need to watch that again.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm gonna say no. My number two. I am going to lump them together, but I don't have the other one. So I'm only bringing in one for some reason, which is actually the Grindhouse. So I only have just the Death Proof now. I had them separated, and then I lost Planet Terror at some point. I was going to buy the whole set, but I just didn't. So,
you should, man. You got to have those trailers in the middle. It's the best part.
Yeah, I'll probably do that as well. So, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I like both of the films. I might actually like Planet Terror a little more than Death Proof, actually. This is probably the only Tarantino film that I've seen that wasn't the number one film of the year, you know what I mean, in my opinion, for me. I definitely like both of the films. They both are different styles. My issue is that I hate to be nitpicky, but Planet Terror really is a horror film. I mean, there's some humor in there, but it really is horror. I didn't feel like Death Proof was scary. You know what I mean? I didn't feel like it was more funny and eerie, I guess, if you will. But I didn't. It wasn't scary to me. And they spend so much time with the two different groups of girls in the beginning that I always have issues. I love the ending. The ending is amazing, but they spend so much time with the groups of girls. And the first group, their conversations, I didn't think were as interesting. So there's a lot of dialogue. So that's the only reason why it's just a little bit weighted a little bit lower for me. But I love both the films. They're both great. Obviously, I own this one. Yeah, definitely a good one to check out. And yeah, if you can watch them both back to back, with the commercials or with the trailers in between that are fake. One of them is Machete, which actually became a film as well. But I definitely urge you to check that out in its entirety as well. So that's it. That's my number two.
Yeah, I know. Like Death Proof is generally regarded as one of his weaker films, and I guess it is.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's his lowest film in my opinion. So it's the only film that I wouldn't give 5 stars.
Yeah, well, I've given all of his films 5 stars, and yeah. I would probably rank it slightly above, probably Django and the Hateful Eight. But to me, they're all A's. They're all A's or A pluses. So I love it. I think like I remember like I saw it the first time in the theater, and it did seem too wordy, but the more I've watched it over time, there's a lot of really great dialogue in there that doesn't really sink in until you've seen it a couple times. And I love contrasting those groups of women because like trying to figure out what the meaning is between those groups, because they almost seem to take place like there's no time in between because Kurt Russell hasn't aged or anything like that. But it's almost like one group is in the 70s, like pre-liberation almost. And then like the second group, they're a lot more assertive, a lot more kick-ass, a lot more modern. You know what I mean? So I like contrasting the two halves. But yeah, I mean, like it's not up there with Pulp Fiction or Kill Bill or anything like that. But I think it's a great movie. I think it's.
I
It's
mean, I like
overrated.
it. I just put it at the bottom. You know what I mean? And so for
Yeah.
me, it's probably like a 4-star for me. But I still love it though. So
Yeah.
cool.
All right.
Number 1.
So number 1, this is one of those movies that I think is just generally not regarded as highly as it should be, and that is David Fincher's Zodiac. So I'm a huge David Fincher fan. I've liked or loved almost everything he's done, but to me, this is his masterpiece. Yes, even more than Seven, even more than all of his other movies. I love all those movies, but to me, this is his masterpiece.
So you'd be hard pressed finding people say that was his number 1 film of all time.
I don't know. There's quite a few actually. There's quite a few that love this movie as much as I do, and you should watch it again. But this movie is, to me, especially after watching Mindhunter, his Netflix show, this almost seems like his first go at making Mindhunter, because it's very, very similar. Very, very similar. Just kind of very, investigative approach to the serial killer genre. It's very similar to Mindhunter. So I would tell everybody, because I know a lot of people who love Mindhunter, and I say, like, go watch Zodiac, because it's the same thing except it's a movie. And but yeah, it's obviously it's about the Zodiac killer. To me, it is a film that's up there at the same level as The Silence of the Lambs as far as serial killer movies. It's a great movie. It's an epic film. It is really eerie, of course, because they never caught the Zodiac killer, and it really makes full use of just the kind of dead ends and missed opportunities that were part of that investigation, because it really puts you in the mindset of the people who were investigating that killing, because it really was just a lot of like red herrings and dead ends, because it always seemed like they were about to catch them, about to go somewhere in their investigation. This is a good lead, but all of them kind of don't go anywhere, and it's kind of it drives the investigators pretty insane over time, because they never got him, and it ends on a really ambiguous, really creepy note. So yeah, that's one of my favorite movies. Easily the best movie of 2007. Easily. I don't care what yours is. It's better.
Definitely not. I love Mindhunters, but the movie Zodiac was okay. I didn't care for it. And definitely not better or on par with Silence of the Lambs or even Seven, in my opinion. So no, definitely not.
But it's great.
But cool. Yeah, I mean, it's cool, man. You can you can live in fantasy land all you like. I live in the real world, man, where that movie doesn't even make my honorable mention. So, my number 1 is also a movie that we covered on the previous show. It was in your top 10 on the lower half, which should have been number 1 for you as well, which is going to be Gone, Baby Gone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so definitely love this film. Like I said, it's got a big all-star cast. Directed by Ben Affleck. Like I said, I kind of went into it a little skeptical as well. I was like, ooh, Ben Affleck, and then he turned out to be a really, really good director. This is even my favorite Ben Affleck film, actually. The Town, I like better. But yeah, and I definitely love it. It's got a great story. It's got some twists and turns to it. Definitely one that I urge anyone to check out. And that is my number 1 film of 2007, Gone, Baby Gone.
Yeah, it's good. It's really awesome. It's not number 1, but it's really good.
I just said it was number 1, so it's definitely number 1. So case closed.
That usually means it's not number 1. So
the movie didn't even make my honorable mention. Well, so we know that's not number 1.
There's no accounting for taste after all.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have any. Well, I'll run through my honorable mentions real quick. I'm still going to do 5, even though...
Starting with Eastern Promises?
Yeah, I'm still going to do 5. I won't have to re-say Eastern Promise. I'm actually doing 16, basically. So, 16 would be Knocked Up. 15 would be 28 Weeks Later. 14 would be 30 Days a Night. 13 would be Superbad. 12 would be The Visitor. And then 11 would be basically Eastern Promises. And then just for good measure, I like to throw I Am Legend in there as well. I actually like that one a lot also. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Cool. And that's it.
All right. Cool. I've got a few more than that, as usual.
Yeah.
But first of all, I just want to point out, like 2007 was probably one of the best years we've done in a while, where it's just like a huge group of movies that I really, really love.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate. Not only did for me, and you own like everything, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. I don't usually own all the movies from every year, but 2007, and I was just having a conversation with my fiance about this the other night, is that although I didn't really go to the movies that much during that time period because I had just had my son who was only like one at the time, you know what I mean, and so I was at home a lot, but I own like every single film in my top 10, and I own every single film in my honorable mention except for The Visitor. So yeah,
wow,
pretty impressive year for me. So yeah.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, same thing. And first of all, I just want to spotlight a group of films because it was also a really good year for my favorite genre, which is horror. On top of the ones that were in my top 5 movies that are close to horror, which are Zodiac, There Will Be Blood, No Country for Old Men, and Grindhouse, obviously. There was also Trick or Treat, which we talked about last time, which actually wasn't officially released until 2009, but it started making the circuits, festival circuits in 2007. Stuck, a really, really underrated movie that's sort of loosely based on that story of the nurse who hit a homeless guy with her car and drove all the way home and just let him bleed out in the garage.
I remember seeing that one, yeah.
Yeah, it's that doesn't sound like a very fun movie, but it is a fun movie, actually. 28 Weeks Later, which is really good, even better than 28 Days Later, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Vacancy, a really cool, like suspenseful kind of psycho-related movie. Not related, but influenced. Inside, which is a really, really brutal French home invasion movie, which is not for the faint of heart, but it's a very good horror movie. So we got those, and on top of those are just the horror ones. There's also Shotgun Stories, which is a really good indie by Jeff Nichols, who went on to do Take Shelter, Mud, Midnight Special, all those movies with Michael Shannon, and this one is no different. Young at Heart. This is a really heartwarming documentary. Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, which we talked about last time. Encounters at the End of the World, which is one of those really trippy, beautiful Werner Herzog documentaries. This one about Antarctica. I'm Not There, a movie about Bob Dylan, which I know you're a huge Bob Dylan fan, right? Yeah. Yeah. The Darjeeling Limited, which is one of the Wes Anderson movies that I didn't care that much for at the time, but I think now now I really appreciate it. Almost done. The Visitor, which you mentioned, really good movie from the same director as The Station Agent. And lastly, my kind of Western, probably not your kind of Western, but it's The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford.
Yeah,
so it's a Western.
So.
Yeah, I really like it though. It's not 3:10 to Yuma type of Western though. It's definitely more artsy, I guess you could say. But I did like 3:10 to Yuma. I just forgot to bring it in here with me. But yeah. So yeah, all of those movies, great. I really love 2007. So
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. You had some good stuff in there, some not so good stuff in there as well, but cool.
I had some all great stuff in there. That's what I had.
Yeah, cool. Well, our challenge films for 2008. So once again, if first time watching, Jason's going to recommend or challenge me to watch a film for 2008 that he knows that I haven't seen, and I will recommend or challenge him to watch a film for 2008 that I've seen that I know he hasn't seen. So what is your film for me?
Okay, you're probably not going to be super stoked about this, but it's really good, trust me. And that's Hellboy 2.
Really?
Yeah. I know you weren't wild about the first Hellboy, but I mean, it's a really good movie. It might be better than the first one, but it's a fun monster movie. It's good for October, and it's Guillermo del Toro.
All right. Well, I'll check it out. Yeah. I didn't love the first one. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. I didn't like it enough to want to see the sequel, honestly. Let's put it that way. But yeah, I'll check it out.
Now you have
Yeah. You're actually going to be seeing well, not a sequel, but a third part. Your film is actually going to be Transporter 3. So,
Really?
yeah, I thought it was the best of the series. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
Fun action film. So, I think it's the best of the series. I thought it was fun. So,
am I gonna understand it if I haven't seen Transporter 2 though?
no, you're not gonna get it at all. No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
it's pretty easy to understand for sure. It's not,
Okay.
it's
All right.
the basic
All right.
principle is, it's kind of like a, Jason Bourne but in a car kind of thing. So,
Yeah, I just know I did not care for the first one, like at all.
yeah, I think you'll like this one a little better than the first one. I don't know if you'll love it, but I think you'll like this one better than the first one. So,
Okay. All right.
cool.
All right,
I feel
cool.
like it got the production value is a little better in this one. I feel like as well. So,
Okay. All right. All right,
the first
man.
one,
I look forward to
dialogue it was really dumb. This one, I still a little dumb because it's an action film, but I feel like the dialogue's a little bit better in this one. So,
All right. I look forward to it.
cool. All right. Well, that is our challenge films for 2008. So we'll be back someday with those challenge films. So probably in a couple of weeks or a week from now or whenever the show airs. But as always, if you like the channel, we definitely urge that you like, subscribe, and make sure you hit the bell notification so you don't miss any of our updates. And we'll be back again soon with a new show. We thank you for watching and hope you have a great day. Bye.
Bye.